All right, let's talk about Bitcoin. We're going to cut through all the hype and all the noise and just get down to what it is, how it actually works, and, why you should probably care about it. So let's just dive right in.
So here's the plan. First, we'll look at the problem that Bitcoin was built to solve. Then we'll talk about what it is, get into the nitty-gritty of the technology, check out the arguments for and against it, and then wrap it all up with what it could mean for you.
You really can't understand Bitcoin without going back to 2008. The entire global financial system was on the verge of collapse. Trust was just gone. And right in the middle of all that chaos, this idea for Bitcoin appears out of nowhere.
And this number is a huge part of the reason why. $498 billion. That's just what US taxpayers had to cough up for the bailouts. So you have this anonymous creator watching all this happen, and they're seeing this massive fundamental flaw in the system, where regular people end up paying for the mistakes of the powerful.
So, yeah, let's start right there with the core problem. What was so broken that somebody felt they had to invent a completely new kind of money from scratch?
Well, it really all comes down to this one word: trust. Our whole financial world is built on it. We have to trust governments not to just print endless amounts of money and make our savings worthless. We have to trust banks to actually hold on to our cash. But if you look at history, that trust gets broken a lot.
And that's exactly where Bitcoin comes in. It was built to be a direct answer to that fragile, trust-based system. It's a bold attempt to build a financial network based on cold, hard, mathematical proof, instead of, human promises that can be broken.
And this right here is the absolute core breakthrough that makes it all possible: digital scarcity. I mean, think about it. Before Bitcoin, anything digital, a photo, a document, an MP3, could be copied a million times, perfectly. You can't have money if anyone can just counterfeit it with a copy and paste. Bitcoin solved that. It created the very first digital thing that's provably rare.
This really makes it clear. On the one hand, you've got normal digital stuff, right? Infinitely copyable. On the other hand, you have Bitcoin. It's finite. It's provably scarce. You can't fake it. It behaves more like gold than a JPEG file, except it's purely digital.
And this is the magic number: 21 million. That's it. There will never, ever be more than 21 million Bitcoin. This isn't just some company policy that can be changed later. Nope, it's written directly into the code, and it's enforced by a massive global network. It is absolute, mathematical scarcity.
Okay, so we get why it was created. It's scarce, it's digital, but how? How in the world does this whole thing actually work? How do you send something digital without it being copied? The answer is this thing called the blockchain. The easiest way to think about it is like a giant public spreadsheet that the whole world shares. Every single transaction gets recorded on it, and thousands of computers all over the planet keep a copy. Because everyone has a copy, it's transparent, and it's practically impossible to cheat the system. You'd have to somehow hack thousands of computers, all at the same time.
So let's just walk through a transaction real quick. First, you get an address. It's got two parts: a public key, which is like your email address that you can give to anyone, and a private key, which is like your password that you guard with your life. Step 2, to send some Bitcoin, you use your secret private key to digitally sign the transaction. Then step 3, all these computers on the network check your signature to make sure you actually have the funds to send. Once it's verified, step 4, these super powerful computers called miners race to solve a really hard math problem. The winner gets to bundle your transaction and a bunch of others into a new block. And finally, step 5, that block gets added to the chain and your transaction is locked in. It's permanent, done.
So here's the big shift, the main takeaway. Bitcoin totally flips the script. Instead of needing to trust a bank or some other institution, the network just verifies. You don't have to trust anyone. You just have to trust that the math works.
All right, so now that we've got a handle on the mechanics, let's get into the big debate. What do people actually think about this thing? Is it the future of finance? Or is it just one giant speculative bubble waiting to pop?
So to get our bearings, here's a quick look at where things stand in late 2025. You can see the prices, well, it's wild, but look at the adoption numbers. We're talking over 650 million people worldwide, and about 17% of adults in the US now own some Bitcoin. It's not some tiny niche thing anymore. And the people who are optimistic, the bulls, they see a lot more room to grow. Now, these are just predictions, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. But it shows you the kind of confidence that's out there. They're betting that as more big money investors get in and it gets easier for regular folks to buy, that fixed supply of 21 million is going to look smaller and smaller, pushing the price way up. But let's be real, there are some very legitimate concerns here. The skeptics, or bears, have plenty of ammo. The price swings are just insane. The amount of electricity it uses is a huge environmental question mark. Governments everywhere are still trying to figure out what to do with it. And probably the scariest part, if you mess up and send your Bitcoin to the wrong person, there's no 1-800 number to call. It is gone. Forever.
Okay, so let's bring it all back down to earth. We've gone through the why, the how, and the big debate. But so what? What does any of this actually mean for you, personally?
Well, there are some really practical, tangible benefits. First, financial sovereignty. Nobody can freeze your account or take your money unless they get your private keys. Its fixed supply means it could be a way to protect your savings from inflation. Sending money across borders can be way cheaper and faster. And, maybe best of all, the bank is never closed. It's open 24/7, 365. But beyond all the practical stuff, there's a much bigger idea at play here. The truly radical innovation is that for the first time, we have a global monetary system that isn't controlled by any government or any single company. It just runs on rules, on math, not on the whims of politicians.
And really, that's the question that this all boils down to. What's better? A system based on absolute, unchangeable mathematical scarcity, or one based on the decisions made by a small group of people in charge? There's no easy answer to that. But for the very first time in human history, we actually get to have that debate, and we actually have a choice. And that choice is really what the whole Bitcoin revolution is all about.